Explain to me what's an end knocked. The officer said suspect one stated that victim one had end knocked on her door.
Nigger knocking.
Yeah, what is that?
Going and knocking on a door and running.
But why is it nigger knocking?
That's what.
Why isn't it Caucasian knocking? Why isn't, why isn't it Caucasian knocking? Why isn't Asian knocking? Why isn't some other knocking? Why is it called that?
No, that's just the way they say it.
No, that's the way you say it, because that's what you said.
I don't know what else to try here.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why would you call it that?
It wasn't to be racist. The kids just kept knocking and knocking on my door, constantly doing that to me. They live upstairs. I did not touch this kid, and I really don't even want to sit here and plead to say that I did.
Oh, you can go, we can have a jury trial.
I don't want to do that because he says that's not the best thing to do.
No.
I just lost, look, I lost a child. My son was 19 years old, was murdered just 2 years ago. I'm under a lot of stress already, you know? So I'm just trying to get out of this and get it as easy as
Just what?
I'm just stressed out enough.
Mhm.
All right.
The court is calling 2025 CR 001146 State versus Cynthia Diano. Could I have parties announced for the record?
Rick Banion for the state of Texas.
Jeffrey Martinez for defendant.
And are you Cynthia Diano?
Yes.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah.
I got it right. Counsel, have you received all discovery? Did you review it with your client?
I did, Your Honor.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Ms. Diano, did you review the document entitled Application for Community Supervision or Deferred Adjudication with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes.
Did you review the true bill of indictment with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
I do.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
No, Your Honor, state will be reducing this charge to a misdemeanor DUI and will proceed with that charge.
Any objection?
No.
Deputy Laura, Deputy Mejia, can you move them to that other end? All right, we're back on the record. Ms. Diano, did you review the court admonishments with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes.
Did you understand the state is proceeding on the lesser included offense of assault bodily injury as a Class A misdemeanor? Range of punishment is anywhere from up to a $4,000 fine and up to 1 year in the Bexar County Jail. If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand? Oh, you didn't understand that part? Well, so let me explain to you. And then if you don't understand, let me know. I'll help you and your attorney discuss it. So you're entering into a plea bargain agreement with the state. You understand that part? Whatever agreement that you have worked out with the state, I don't have to follow that agreement. So let's hypothetically say they want you to have probation. If I were to tell you, I'm not going to give you probation, I'm sending you to jail, then you can withdraw your plea.
Okay.
Because I have not followed your plea bargain agreement. Now, the conditions for the plea bargain agreement, that's something the court gets to decide. You understand? So if for some reason I don't follow your plea bargain agreement and I try to give you more than what you've bargained for, then you get to withdraw your plea. And it can't be used against you if you decide to go to jury trial. You understand? And by that same token, if I don't follow your plea, then what can end up happening if you withdraw your plea, then the state can say, okay, we're going to have to go to jury trial. We're going to go to jury trial. And maybe they won't be going to jury trial on a Class A misdemeanor. They'll be going to trial on the injury to the elderly. Not maybe, that's what they'd have to do. You understand? All right. Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in the right to remain silent? Did you understand by entering this plea, you were giving up those rights?
Yes.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into this plea bargain agreement?
Yes.
All right. Did you understand if the court were to grant your application for deferred adjudication, if for any reason you were to violate your conditions of probation, I could revoke you and sentence you up to 1 year in the Bexar County Jail. Did you understand?
Yes.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe she has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against her?
I do, Your Honor.
Do you believe she's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes.
Ms. Diano, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea? Anyone promised you anything other than the plea? Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes.
Are you a U.S. citizen? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived her right to jury trial. Did you review the plea bargain page with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes.
According to the plea, the state is proceeding on the lesser included offense of assault bodily injury. There's a $500 fine. The state is recommending deferred adjudication. And there's no contact with several people. And there's a Samantha with a question mark by it.
I. to go off record real quick. Ms. Jones prepared this, I don't know why I did that.
Did you understand that to be your plea bargain agreement?
Yeah, but that lady actually has already assaulted me twice at my.
All right, so here's the thing. The only thing I'm looking at today is once I've gone over the admonishments for you and what your rights are, then what will end up happening is the state will present evidence and then I'll make a decision on whether or not that evidence is sufficient to find you guilty. If I find that the evidence is not sufficient to find you guilty, then I'm going to find you not guilty and say that the state can prove its case. However, if there's something else going on between you and this other person, that is not before this court today. That's something else. So what I've just read to you, did you understand that to be the plea? Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
State?
That is a plea.
Did you review the waiver of appeal paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it in both places? Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand? Counsel, there being such motions.
No, Your Honor.
Outside the agreement, the state is requesting that your deferred adjudication be for a term of 6 months. There be 30 hours of community service restitution, TAP evaluation, follow recommendation, sober meetings, random UAs, and anger management. Did you understand that those are recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations? Then to the offense of assault bodily injury as a class A misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No.
State any evidence.
Your Honor, this has to sit over the evidence that you did it one for all of it.
Your Honor, defense has no objection.
All right, and state, have you spoken with the complainant?
We have.
All right, thank you. State, you may be excused.
Your Honor.
All right, did you review the waiver and stipulations with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yeah.
In all the appropriate places? Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call and the right to remain silent? Did you understand that today the state would be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports? But most importantly, there will be no live testimony. Did you understand? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing states exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court will defer finding of guilt as you apply for deferred adjudication. Are we proceeding with sentencing?
We would like to, Your Honor.
All right, explain to me what's an N knocked? That's in the, that's in the police report. The officer said suspect 1 stated that victim 1 had N knocked on her door.
And they
I.
knocked on their door trying
No,
to,
no, I'm asking.
She
her.
constantly.
No. What is an N knock?
Nigger knocking,
Yeah, what is that?
going and knocking on a door and running. and
But why
running
is it
away.
nigger knocking?
That's what. they
Why
call
isn't it
It's-
Caucasian knocking? Why isn't,
Word
no,
is-
no, no.
word is-
Why isn't it Caucasian knocking? Why isn't Asian knocking? Why isn't some other knocking? Why is it called
I
that?
don't know, that's just the way they say it. I
No,
mean,
that's the way you say it because that's what you said.
That's what I'm just, that's basically, I mean, all right. I don't know what else to tell you.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why
It's
would
not
you
like a
call it
race,
that?
it wasn't to be racist. The kids just kept knocking and knocking on my door, constantly doing that to me. They live upstairs. I did not touch this kid and I really don't even want to sit here and plead to say that I did.
Oh, you can go, we can have a jury trial.
I don't want to do that because he says that's not the best thing to do.
No.
I just lost, look, I lost a child. My son was 19 years old, was murdered just 2 years ago. I'm under a lot of stress already. You know, so I'm just trying to get out of this and get it as easy as
Just what?
I'm just stressed out enough.
Mhm.
All right.
So do you want a jury trial?
No, I don't. I just want to get this over with, do the probation and whatever I have to do.
All right, so what was the race of,
Then show me, you asked me that question. If you knew the
Your
answer to the question.
what is the race of the complainant?
Hispanic.
Hispanic.
Everyone's Hispanic in the instance.
Mhm. And what do you, If I knew the answer, I don't know why you would say that. That's why I'm trying to figure out why you're saying it, because in the police report, they say you were intoxicated. So I'm trying to figure out,
Intoxicated.
that's what it says in the police report. It says suspect stated V had knocked on her door and she came outside to see who knocked. And
I know
victim's
who knocked.
family came down the stairs yelling at her, accused her of hitting the victim. Suspect kept saying she did not want to tell her side of the story and tried to walk away to go inside. I detained suspect to investigate further. And it says in here that there was signs of drinking.
I don't see a crime in drinking in your own home. I was in my
Yeah,
own.
I'm just
home.
trying to figure out what's going on because I have to set conditions for you. Is this an anger problem? Because they want you to do.
I just, I'm sorry that you caught me off guard with the question that you asked me. I feel like you're kind of in a setup I felt kind of set up with that question. I understand it's not a word to be used, and I understand that I used it in the wrong word, in a wrong way, and I apologize for that. So I'm sorry.
There's more in here that you said. You're using profanity. I am trying to figure out, because it says suspect had a strong odor of intoxicants on her. I'm trying to figure out why the state is asking for anger management, because they're requesting that you do anger management. They're requesting that you have a TAP evaluation to see if you have a drug or alcohol problem. They're asking for sober support meetings. Sober support meetings are usually for people who have a drug or alcohol problem. I'm trying to figure out what's going on because you told me that the lady, Samantha, had, assaulted you or is still causing problems with you. So I'm trying to read the room and figure out what's going on, and I
I'm leaving-
cannot.
I'm leaving this apartment, so I'm already have gone into a new place to live. I'm leaving on Sunday because the lady kicked my dog the other day. And she got up in my face and stuck her finger in my face and started yelling at me. No, I don't have a drinking problem. Yes, I lost my child on February 5th, 2023. He was murdered by a best friend in a gas station in Austin, Texas. And I lost my fiance 11 days before that. He had a heart attack inside my home. I've been under a lot of stress and frustration. These people don't leave me alone from upstairs. It's a constant fight with this lady. So I'm moving myself away from that environment. I've already lost my job because of her, that I had a job with for 6 years, working from home. And I politely went upstairs and told her, look, like I work from home. All they do is they run like a herd of elephants upstairs and it basically just annoying people. And that's it. The kid just keeps knocking on my door. They would steal my decorations from my home. I've already complained. So now I'm taking myself out of the environment and just going somewhere else.
All right, state, you're requesting anger management in sober meetings? All right, and why are you requesting that?
Seems like that would be beneficial for the defendant to undergo.
We're in agreement with the state. We would have to probate the fine, Your Honor, as you heard. The defendant has lost her job. She's having to have moving expenses. She's indigent and court appointed, Your Honors. At this time, we would ask to follow the plea and to waive the fine.
So
Probation.
you're fine with anger management in sober meetings?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. There's going to be a $500 fine probated, proof of employment within 30 days, no employment as a home healthcare provider or with minors. There's going to be 1 year deferred adjudication, 80 hours of community service restitution. I think she needs anger management. I'm going to order anger management. Once she's completed that, then 40 of the hours will be deemed satisfied. And then I'm going to order 60 sober meetings in 60 days. TAP evaluation, that can be out of custody. Follow recommendations. There's going to be field visits 1 time per month for 6 months. Regular reporting by Zoom or in person, regular random UAs. There's to be no contact with the following persons: Danny Ibarra, Samantha Coronado and Brenda Espinoza. Probation, is there anything else she needs? Is there anything else you need from the court to be successful? Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it? Because it's a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand? All right, and Ms. Abrams, see if maybe a referral to Center for Healthcare Services, maybe they can help her with any type of trauma. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Court is calling 2024 CR 5390, State versus George Hawkins III. Could I have parties announce?
Andrew Harrison, state.
Brant Hardy for the defendant.
Are you Mr. Hawkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you review the document entitled Motion to Enter Adjudication of Guilt and Revoke Community Supervision with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes,
Are you the same George Laverne Hawkins III who was placed on deferred adjudication in 2024 CR 5390 for the offense of assault on a peace officer or judge on August 8, 2024 for a period of 8 years? Is that you?
yes.
All right, state, you may proceed.
On or about the 30th day, April 2025, in Bear County, Texas, the defendant George Laverne Hawkins III committed the offense of criminal trespass and violation.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
State waives the remaining violation allegation.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 1, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, and sentence you up to 20 years in prison and up to $10,000 fine?
Yes,
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 1?
yes,
Court will find violation of condition number 1 true. Is there a proposed agreement?
yes, Judge. Deny the motion, alter and amend. State will take into consideration dismissal of the new offense, although we request a no contact order with Cross Towers located at 111 West Houston Street.
And what is the cause number?
2025 CC 006392.
All right, counsel, is that the agreement?
It is, Judge.
All right, you want to raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
George Laverne Hawkins III.
All right, so why were you at Frost?
Well, it began whenever I relapsed. I was a year sober on methamphetamines.
Mhm.
I was in drug court. I actually wrote a letter to explain it all to you.
Mhm.
If you would like to see that, but I could explain it in words.
Sure.
So, I was actually doing really good in drug court, and it kind of took me by shock whenever the district attorney in drug court, put in the motion to revoke, because I had been a year sober. I had been going to all the meetings. I was in Rosetta Keys, going to groups 2 times a week, and also the individual sessions with Tammy Banfield, and
Mhm.
also I was seeing the judge during his sessions each month, and I was also seeing Elsa Guajardo
All
over
right,
at.
so there has to be more going on, because felony drug court would not put you out of their program just because you started using again. So there's something, what else is going on?
I did make a few slight mistakes whenever I was in drug court.
It takes, let me just tell you, it takes more than that. So let me explain something to you. I am trying to decide whether or not to follow this agreement that's been reached with the state and the defense.
Mhm.
Now, I don't have to follow it because your contract is not with them, it's with the court. I could sentence you to 20 years. But I'm trying to figure out what's going on with you and why you were put out of felony drug court. And what I can tell you, because I've been an attorney in felony drug court, they do not put people out of the program because you relapsed.
See,
They do not put you out of the program because you're making bad choices here or there. What they try to do is they try to correct those issues. Now, if you disappeared on them, they only have so much time that they can allow you to be on a warrant and you've disappeared.
Yeah.
So there has to have been something else going on other than you relapsed and you made some bad choices here or there. So why do you feel that they put you out of the program?
You're probably not gonna,
No, I mean, at the end, let me just tell you, at the end,
my belief is because the district attorney changed from what the bailiffs in the courtroom and Judge Glenn's courtroom told me, she had only been there for a month.
Mhm.
So she wasn't able to actually see my progression throughout the process while I was in drug court for 8 months. I mean, I was at Lifetime for 3 of those months. I've been going to Judge Glenn's courtroom as required and going to my meetings with Elsa as required, going to my meetings with Tammy Banfield as required. And with the exception of two miscues, the last one being the close to the 30th there, whenever I relapsed. And also showing up late to my probation officer.
Mhm.
Those were the few mistakes that I made. I mean,
Because usually they give you some options. They tell you, look,
I thought
we're going to try this last time, but we're going to do zero tolerance with you, or there's something else. So you're telling me this is all that's going on with them?
it baffled me as well. I was kind of speechless whenever I left there. And, I wasn't on my medication because I just had gotten, but from what I gathered, it all just seemed very confusing to me. I don't understand why they decided to, because the last thing I heard from Elsa Guajardo,
Mhm.
she from meetings going to 2 times a month, she switched it to 1 day a month.
Mhm.
She said, because I've been doing so well. And the same thing with Tammy Banfield. She gave me less meetings, group meetings than the other peers in my group because I was doing so well. She even called me one of her best students. And I was on page 7, or also on the 7th step out of the 12 steps of the MRT book. And I even got housing at the VA residential housing at the GI Forum. And I mean, I was doing well, but all of it, that the one relapse, that did mess me up because I ended up losing my housing at the GI Forum, and which led me to going to the bank. I mean, I had tried so many places to get water, and then I was just, I had gotten sprayed in the face with mace because I was sleeping outside of a hospital because I got kicked out of the GI. Really, it's just I've been struggling with the addiction, with not having a job, which I attribute, the fact that I was able to get a job to drug court. Drug court did help me a lot, and Lifetime helped me a lot, which is kind of surprising why I was offered Lifetime again, which I would really like the opportunity to do that because I think they did well, especially Darnell over there at Lifetime Recovery, and they also helped me get my identification straight. They even got my driver's license back and all my IDs, and they put me in the door to housing, and it was just a great help to me. And I mean, I don't understand. I even saw you at the graduation ceremony. It was nice seeing you there as well. And I had gotten a job. I hadn't had a job in 2 years. I'd been unemployed, but I did end up getting a job just by looking at the bulletin board in drug court.
All right, so just one second.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Ms. Abrams, do you know why he was released from felony drug court?
Judge, it states on here, he had that new charge. It was a new offense on 5/1/2025, and then on 5/14, he admitted relapsing. So that new number 1 automatic kind of brings it back to us.
All right, so it's the new number 1 and not just the relapse, because I know felony drug court would not put you out of program for a relapse, because sometimes,
Were you there?
oh, myself?
Mhm.
Oh, since the very beginning, since its inception. And I was there as a defense attorney
Yeah.
for that full time until I joined the DA's office.
Right.
Yeah, so years upon years
Mhm.
upon years.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so then if the state is taking care of the new number one, Ms. Abrams, can we see if felony drug court will accept him back?
Judge, I was gonna, yes, I was actually pulled up. Program manager, but she doesn't want to be online. If you give me a moment.
All right, just have a seat. We're gonna see. All right.
Thank
Defense, I don't know if you all, I don't know if this agreement will work out. I forwarded to Ms. Abrams what they're saying. So the email that I have, what do you think the email is saying? Well, let's start with this. Did you abscond from the sober living house, yes or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Then we're gonna need people here because it says Mr. Hawkins absconded and left the sober living house he was staying at.
What exactly is abscond? To run away from? I didn't.
You left and you did not return. Did you
They
leave?
kicked me out. They packed my bags and left them on the front hallway.
No, that's not what's saying here. And then,
Wait, okay, the sober living home, which one? Cause I was at a sober living house.
well, let me ask you this. Did you ever leave a sober living home, a sober living house, and not return?
The one at 14823 Bending Point Drive, the one that I went
Now,
to.
my question is, did you ever leave? See, this is the problem. When people are in their drug addiction,
I was asked.
they want you to be very, if you're not specific with your words, then there's a lot of wiggle room. And I'm getting a lot of wiggle room from you. So let me just end it right here. They said that you left, absconded, you left the sober living home, you did not return. That's what they mean by absconded. You were not supposed to leave there and not return. You left and didn't return. Then they said you had this major relapse. Then after you had the major relapse, you pick up a new charge. Then they still don't want to kick you out because I've been in felony drug court and I knew they just wouldn't kick him out for a relapse or even leaving the sober living house, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes people don't do the program perfectly. That's why you're there. Then they said they offered you residential treatment and you refused to follow the plan set forth by the judge.
I'm speechless again. I mean,
No, I'm not, because that's what it says. I don't think Judge Glenn would be dishonest about saying that they offered you residential treatment and you turned it down.
I don't remember that. But then again, Your Honor, I wasn't on any medication when they questioned me.
And do you remember leaving the sober living home
That
and
part,
not returning
it
and
was,
then drinking yourself into oblivion?
it was the American GI Forum. I did go out without requesting to go out.
And you never returned?
I came back the next day.
Mm.
And then when I came back, I stayed there for like 2 days and then they told me I had to leave.
No, they said you absconded, you left, you never returned.
The staff at the GI Forum told me I had to leave.
And then they offered you residential treatment and you declined.
They as in drug court, that part I don't.
He refused to follow the plan set by the judge.
I don't remember a plan, but then again, I forget things because like I'm heavily medicated.
See, that is the thing. This is what I tell everybody. When people are in the throes of their addiction, the stories they tell sound so true. Like when he stands up here and he told me, he said, I was doing great. I just had this one relapse. I don't understand what the issue is.
But
Now we understand that it was more than just the one relapse, which is what I thought. It was you leaving the sober living home. And even I've been in drug court before where people have left their sober living homes because they go back, they have a relapse, and then everybody's working, trying to get them back into compliance by trying to, probation officers go to their old hangouts. They even will, if somebody used to hang on a corner, they'll even go to that corner, ask people around, hey, have you seen this person? because they are desperately trying to get that person back into compliance, back clean and sober, because that's what they want. So I knew that there had to be something else going on. If it was just this one time, I was doing so great, then I relapsed. No. And then, even though you absconded from the sober house, even though you relapsed, they still wanted to work with you and they wanted to put you in residential treatment. It was offered to you and they came up with a plan. What I do know is sometimes when people are in the throes of their addiction, they want to make their own plan. And I tell them, you can't make your own plan.
Your Honor, one way to make sure that this is accurate would be to just call GI Forum and ask them what happened. They would say they kicked me out.
No,
did
I
not
want to
have
talk,
a
here's the
count.
thing. That whole thing about the sober living house, that whole thing about your relapsing, that's not even the big picture. You know why? Because felony drug court was still going to work with you. And they had set up a plan. They came up with a plan for you that involved residential treatment. And you said no.
I wasn't even on medication at that time when they questioned me with all these questions. I mean, I don't understand the law as well as y'all do.
See, so here's the thing. Now you're changing you're moving the goalposts. At first you're like, no, I never did it. I never turned down residential treatment. No residential treatment was never offered to me. And now we're on this kick where now you're saying, well, I don't understand all this legal things that are going on. The legal things that's going on when a judge tells you you absconded from the sober living house, you've relapsed, we're going to try to get you back in compliance by you're going to a residential treatment. And then you say, no, you're not following that plan. So counsel, here's the court's issue. Felony drug court wanted him in inpatient treatment. He said, no, there is nothing I can do for him. So if you all are coming before me and you all want me to follow this agreement you have where he goes into residential treatment, not going to happen because felony drug court has already offered him residential treatment. And he said, no, this is somebody who's writing his own plan. And now they want to come to me because this is sort of like the end of the line where felony drug court, now they're really serious because now I'm before this judge and my only choice is to go to inpatient. I'm not going to follow that because he was given the option to go to inpatient treatment. He didn't want to.
You know what occurred during that meeting with Judge Glenn? And Elsa Guajardo, I told her that the charge that I was initially in here for with Superior Court Judge Boyd was total bullshit. That the cop
So
lied.
here's the thing.
The cop lied.
Here's the thing. We're on the record. You are even going further afield of what we're here for. This whole thing, you were placed on probation out of this court in August. This whole thing that maybe this didn't happen, that ship has sailed because you entered a plea to it. You entered a plea of no contest. Stipulations were put in the record. I read them. I found that there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty and I placed you on deferred.
Did you watch
And
the
you
video?
can't, here's the thing, you keep moving the goalposts. You said the only thing that happened to you in felony drug court was you relapsed and you were doing so great and you didn't understand why they kicked you out of the program. Now we have this email that your attorney said, yes, please email them and see what's going on. Now I have an email that says you absconded from the sober living facility. And then you come back at me, oh no, I just left for the day and I came back and my bags were packed. And then we come to the point that you abscond from the sober living facility, then you relapse. And then I say, that's not even the issue with felony drug court because that's happened to people in felony drug court before. They still try to work with you. So then here's the third thing. You do all of that in felony drug court and felony drug court tells you, we will give you residential treatment. That's the plan. And you tell them no.
Okay, Your Honor. As far as the whole residential treatment, what you're referring to, the sober living facility, I stayed 1 month at a sober living house. That 1 month was up. The manager of the sober living house, he told me, you don't have a job right now, so you can't pay, so you get out. He packed up all my bags. I had to move. I moved into the American GI Forum. And around that date, April 30th, Well, it was actually April 26th. I picked up and used. I used meth. I drank alcohol that night. I continued to do it for a couple of days. That night when I did pick up and use and I drank, I called the UA line that morning and they said, come into UA. When I did that, at that point, I didn't make the UA. And then I went back to American GI Forum. And then at that point, they said, well, they figured out, they seemed to have thought I was high on meth, or because I wasn't acting right and then all that. So I just kept myself in my room. I was using meth in my room with American GIs. I'm not lying. And they put two and two together. And then they said, you're gonna have to leave here. I had no other place to go. At that point, I went out and slept on the street, at the church, at the Christus Hospital. I slept outside the hospital. A security guard came, sprayed me with mace in my face. Whenever I was asleep, and then I walked to the frost bank to get water, to get it out of my eyes. Did that work? No, I got arrested. And that's where the criminal trustworthiness comes into play.
All right, so let's get to the point where, because according to the email, they say that you absconded and you left the sober living you were staying at. You know what? Let's assume that what you're telling me is the truth about that. Okay. They say the next thing you did was you drank yourself into oblivion and used meth and pick up a new charge. Okay. And this is what felony drug court is saying. Felony drug court's like, hey, he left the sober living home, did not return. You're saying you returned. Then he relapsed and he picked up a new charge. But you know what this email says? It says you left the sober living home, you relapsed, you picked up a new charge. Then after all of that, guess what felony drug court says? We don't want you out of program. We want to still work with you. And they come up with a plan. And that plan is for you to be in residential treatment and you refuse to follow the plan. So this whole thing about you absconding from the sober living home, about your relapsing, about your picking up a new charge, that's not really the sole reason that you were released from felony drug court. The reason why you were expelled from felony drug court is because they had a plan for you, residential treatment, and you refused to go along with it. So now we're here. And what I can tell you is I'm not following this agreement because I can't help you. Drug court tried to help you with residential treatment. And you said no. So I'm going to find you guilty. I'm going to revoke. I'm taking in consideration 2025 CC 006392, give you credit for any time served. There's the therapeutic community. Is there any suggestion with regards to time? He's looking at 2 to 20 years.
Being familiar with the facts of the allegation. Cool.
All right, the underlying facts of the allegation, you can review the stipulation. The court remembers those, but I'll give you the stipulation. And counsel, if you would like to review the stipulations as well, you can.
My room facts.
Okay.
Quite frankly, it seemed like he was a bit prejudiced whenever he said I drank myself into oblivion, because how would he have even known that? He didn't even do an alcohol test or blood test on
Are
me.
you saying you didn't drink alcohol?
Not into oblivion,
All right. How many drinks did you have?
enough to where I was still sober.
All right. And how much meth did you have? Was that enough till you were sober as well? Okay.
You're on.
All right. So what are you recommending?
6 years.
Defense, are you in agreement to 6 years?
No, Judge, we'd ask for the minimum. Judge. By the officer's own admission, he wasn't seriously injured. I think thank you. Judge, I think reasonable people can disagree as to the defendant's intent at the time of the offense. So bearing that in mind, and given the fact, Judge, that this is his first felony, bearing all those into consideration, Judge, we'd ask for the minimum of 2 years.
All right, this is what the court will do. The court was, as previously stated, the court is finding number one true. The court will find you guilty, grant the motion. Take in consideration 2025 CC 006392. Give you credit for any time served. The court will request the therapeutic community. Doesn't increase the amount of time that you're in custody, but if you sign up for it and they accept it, it'll help you with your sobriety. And I'll sentence you to 4 years in the prison. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Didn't read it, no.
Okay. Did you sign it?
I did.
All right. Well, what that is that's telling you whether or not you have a right to appeal. You have a limited right to appeal, and that right to appeal is as it relates to the allegations in the motion, not the fact that you were on deferred adjudication. You understand?
Limited as in what? I can't appeal.
No, you'll have to speak to your attorney. But what I can tell you is this. You entered a plea of true to violation of condition number 1. The court found it true. You are allowed to appeal that finding of true. All right. So that's your limited right to appeal. You don't have a right to appeal that, hey, I shouldn't have been on deferred adjudication for this because that time has elapsed. Do you understand?
So the incident with the police officer, I cannot appeal.
You need to speak to your attorney with that. I'm just talking to you about this specific process with regards to your motion to revoke. So with regards to your motion to revoke, you have a limited right to appeal. That right to appeal is as it relates to the allegations in the motion in your plea of true. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to your attorney. All right, good luck to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that the last case we have?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we'll just wait and see.